Welcome to the Prophetic Archive, Metamorphosis, Part 6. Metamorphosis is produced or is not. Now, who produces the metamorphosis? Me. Who is it? Me. So if I produce the metamorphosis, then who stops the metamorphosis? Me. Who produces it? Me. And who's responsible for stopping it? Me. Again, who stops the metamorphosis? So, understand that you yourself produce it and you yourself stop it. Hello? I produce it and I myself stop it. Do you realize where the power is now? Hello? Let's go, let's move forward. Come on. Did you see the power now? Who produces the metamorphosis and who stops it? Good. Some people start to wander around, but listen well to this. God's prophetic styles do not fall the same for each person. You know why? Because each one of you is at a different level of assuming and of obedience. You know why? Because not everyone is assuming the same thing. Therefore, the effect that something I'm assuming can produce in me and in you is not the same because we're not assuming the same. We have to understand what the spiritual world is like. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's not the same. Listen, there can be two in a married couple, and the way they both receive the prophetic flow can be completely different, even if they both hear the same thing, because everything has to do with the platform that it's falling on. Prophetic dials like this on a disordered platform sometimes can become a bigger disaster. Because if the person does not take correction quickly, then what manifests itself can take them down suddenly. How many of you understand this? Just like you see some people that they're blossoming and they're on fire, and then boom, you don't see them anymore. They're ruined. And you're like, wow, what happened? That's totally normal. Totally normal. So don't be surprised by things like this happening, because let me ask you, who does the sun rise for? Who or whom? Does God have mercy only on the good, or does he have mercy also on the bad? He has mercy on everyone. Does God have privileges only with the evangelicals of this church, or does he have privilege with the wish of the corner? Do you understand where your disgrace and your struggles come from? It comes from someone not assuming responsibility. Each person will pay for their own consequences, and each person will harvest what? What? What they have sown. What do you have? Let me ask you again. What do you have? Do you know why it costs many of you to understand? You know why? Because you thought that you were very good. You thought you were a goody two shoes. You thought you were a little angel. Hello? How many here thought they were good? And do you know what it has cost you to acknowledge that what you have gotten is the result of what you have sown? Hello? How many good people, quote unquote, do we have here? Does it hurt to know today that you have what you have sown? And you say, but Pastor, I did not do anything bad. Look, even if things come from a generational line, it's part of the manifestations of the legalities. That's why when you know something, you'll have authority over the enemy. What did I say? Listen, when you know something, you dominate. And when you dominate everywhere. Write it down. When you know, you dominate. And when you dominate everywhere. Let me explain. Everything you have been freed from, you dominate in that area. In other words, remember that ministry speaking, many of us are trained in the same things that we were bound by. Bondages end up being a training for you because you end up dominating there where you were enslaved before. You have the authority and dominion today, so you say, I'm dominating here today. I'm managing what I dominate, but I had to conquer that first. That's why I have the greater radius. That's why there's a great battle that happens. That's why the word says that before plundering a house, what do you have to do? You have to bind the strong men. The principle is that if you don't bind it within yourself, you won't be able to dominate it in others. When you cannot dominate downwards, it's because you have a problem upwards. Hello? Anyone who isn't submitted upwards will not dominate downwards. Write it down. The authority you may have today comes as a result of how you submit yourself. Because if there's no submission upwards, then there's no authority downwards. And sometimes we say, but oh my God, what is going on? Nothing's going on. Nothing is happening. Sometimes your struggle is downwards, but you have to check how you're doing upwards. Because if you have problems upwards, you'll have disorder downwards. When you see that you don't have authority and you don't dominate, check what's going on. Because you're supposed to have authority, or no. What should you have? If you don't dominate that woman, check what's going on. If you don't dominate the children, check what's going on. Because it cannot be that the children dominate you. No way. The devil is a liar. If I don't dominate downwards, then there's a problem. Write it down. There is a problem. You have a problem. You have serious problems. When I see that I'm not dominating, you know what I do? I stop. I investigate. I look for a way. Because you have to dominate downwards. And when I'm talking about dominating, I'm not talking about abuse or mistreatment or kicking or cursing. No. Be careful. Be careful you don't take my words out of context, because there are many who can take my words and distort them and say, oh, finally the pastor gave me the green light to, take care of business. No. That's not what I'm saying. You ladies, be careful too, because I just saw one in the spirit with a tray. Like, here I'm coming. No. May the Lord rebuke the devil. That manifestation of not dominating needs attention. You have to pay attention to that area. Do you understand? You gotta pay so much attention, because in those areas is when little things in your life happens, and you have to pay attention to that. Because if what's your little doesn't have order, then that means, you know what? You have to take it easy, because that tells me that you're not ready. What does it mean? What do you mean, Pastor? That means, brother, that you need to relax because you're not ready. But there are people who get anxious and they want everything to be ready, even if they violate all the principles, because everything has to do with that. But Pastor, it's just that, I want this and I want that. This is not about what you want. It's about how it is established. You have to walk under order. There's no disorder here. There's no disorder in the spirit. Write it down. In the spirit, there's no disorder. There is no disorder. That's why you want things to happen quickly. You want things to fly. You want to jump over 100 principles. I have spent my whole life teaching how the order of the organizational chart is supposed to go. How it's the order of a structure in a systematic, chronological way, so that it's easy. But it's easy with those who have the rules well established. You cannot come and mess things up downwards when you have no order upwards. That's why when we assume things under order, under established principles, everything will be easier. It will be better. Things will be more manageable. Metamorphosis. Because we want to reflect all the metamorphosis that happens in our lives in a daily way. Metamorphosis is what manifests itself when you assume, when you want to do things right, when you manage what principles are. And let me tell you, stop saying what many people say. Oh my God, Pastor, I have a war. I have a battle, blah, 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 blah. No. I gave you many examples of what a metamorphosis is, so that when it's your turn, it turns out well in your house, right? You have been wanting to assume like a woman, as a mother, as a wife. Let me ask you, has it been easy? What has been produced in you? Everything. A revolution. What did you call that revolution at first? You know what Sister Reina will do? when she wanted to assume as she should, she would call me to say, Pastor, oh my God, I have such a struggle. This is such a war. This is such a test, Pastor. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. And you know what that pastor would say to her? No, my love. She would say, I'm tired, Pastor. I'm tired. How are you, Reina? I'm tired, Pastor. Listen, you see, we are learning that it's so easy for us to say with our mouths, oh, I'm tired, I'm fed up. But I got news for you. That is satanic. Whoever speaks like that is a satanist. Listen well, satanic. Listen well. Saying with your mouth, I'm fed up, that's satanism. Total satanism. Are you all listening to me? I'm tired, Pastor. You satanic. How are you, sister? I'm tired, Pastor. You are satanic. Listen, nobody gets tired of what belongs to them because each one of us has to give an account of what we were given. And if you say I'm fed up, it's like saying, please, let everything fall apart. Isn't that right? If I say I'm fed up with them, it's like me saying let everything go to hell. And that's what the enemy wants you to say. So we have to be careful because I cannot get fed up about what is my only commitment. None of us here have 10 commitments. If you count them in your life, there are very few that they don't even reach 5 commitments. And those 5 commitments are what belong to you. So why are you tired? Oh, Pastor, I'm just tired. I'm tired of life. You know what? I could just say I'm tired of this ministry. Lord, please, I'm tired of this ministry. But you know what? No, sir. Because I cannot be tired of what has been delegated to me. Hello? I cannot get tired of what corresponds to me. It's foolish to say to what belongs to me, I cannot put up with this anymore. No, I can't. It's foolish of you to say that. It will be so easy to do so, but you know what? Whoever says that doesn't even know who they are. How many of you understand? If God said to me, imagine, if God said to me, I'm fed up with you. Can you imagine that? How many of us deserve from God I'm fed up with you? Huh? Look, not even the angels in this church raise their hands. So if God doesn't get tired, why do you? Why would you get tired of something He Himself gave to you? Hello? I have a question. Did you choose your parents or did God give them to you? So why do you get tired? God has given us things, but, Pastor, I'm just tired. Tired of what? Tell your responsibility, you know what? You are mine. This is mine. Let's go. This is mine. Go on and rehearse at home. Even you husbands that you won't like this, repeat after me and say, this is mine. This is my responsibility. That is mine. Say it every day, 3 times a day. Repeat it to yourself. This is mine. This is mine. So that the whole environment, you, the devil, and the world will finally say, you know what? Fine. Take it for yourself. Take it for yourself. What's the show? Yes, because the enemy always appeals to what you don't know and appeals to all that nonsense that you're saying all the time. In other words, one thing is for the devil to make war on you, and another is for you to give him ammunition. There are people who take pleasure in giving everything to the devil. Let everything go to the devil. Let everything fall apart. I don't care. You all go to hell. Who is it? Who is it that has said that? All of you sitting here. Yes, thank you. You, look, another one. You too. Yes, I need one more, another one. I feel like there's one missing. Yes, let's go. You too. You raise your hand. Yep, you too. Yeah, another quickly. Let's go. Why? Because some are conformed to the enemy and others just give him ammunition. There's a revolution. There's chaos. Yes, but that's very dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because you are given a legal right. And quickly, a disaster can happen. And then what? You know what? It's not like those who are under investigation say, or those who are investigating after a disaster say, oh, well, but they're from the church of the super saints and nothing happens to them. Really? Because people think that here we're preaching like nothing can happen? No. On the contrary, because of what we believe, everything can happen to you if you don't get out of that condition of life you have. More things can happen to you here than in your entire life, okay? Because anyone who doesn't want to recognize will have to recognize with a manifestation that everyone will see. And not just that they did not recognize it. Listen, that is very humiliating. A lot of you will hear people say, oh my God, what happened to them? And it's worse for those who don't recognize it at the right time, because they're not only will recognize it, but they'll be humiliated because everyone will know that they didn't want to acknowledge. How many are understanding me? That is the greatest humiliation. That is the humiliation that the Lord refers to when he said, the one who humbles himself will be exalted, and the one who exalts himself will be humiliated. When many of us wanted to be good husbands, we were not treated with flowers. No man likes to assume things to do at the house and wear like a little skirt to clean the house up. None of us like it. But we had to go through stages of confrontation. Ask me if I like to mop in my house. Ask me. I don't. Ask me if I like to cook in my house. I don't. Ask me if I like to do anything in my house. I don't. And that's me, the pastor. So let me give you an advice based on this. Ask me how many years I had to swallow being in the house, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of my children while my wife worked. 5 years. Ask me how much humiliation I had because that hubby, who was me, who was the lazy guy at home while the wife was working for many years, I had to be humiliated. I was responsible during that time because I had to be. That was my time to assume, to cook, because while she worked, I was assuming at home. I was there. I was doing the cooking. I was doing everything because that was a time for me to do it, okay? Today, that's not my time. If you are a couple and you don't have help and both of you work, then you help each other. Nowadays, neither my wife nor I do anything in the house because we're both working, and each one of us has zero duties in the house, in the sense of what we used to have before. Nowadays, neither of us have to do anything because we have Eric that does the dishes, Diana mops, somebody takes care of something else, and everyone is doing something. We all have commitments. Because this is not about doing what you want. It's about using wisdom. It's not just about doing the dishes or mopping the kitchen. It's about being aware and mature and communicating how to do things when you're in a household. Listen, husband, listen. You sit down and you analyze. If you're not working and you're not doing anything, you say, let's share everything. But if you're both working, let's say between the two of you, divide things. But don't impose your will. There are people who belittle other commitments, and you gotta value what each person does. Being at home is not easy. If you're left alone in a home, you will cry like a little baby. Oh, please, Pastor, me? Yes, you. If you were left alone with a baby, you will be like, where does the diaper go? Is it on the head? Is it on the left arm? Are you understanding me? Life is about work and struggle. That mentality of misery, of stagnation, of laziness, of you saying, oh, I don't have the energy. That's part of the metamorphosis. Who of you thinks that by doing and assuming responsibility, you'll have the energy? No. On the contrary, all the devils in you that you're dragging will manifest. Discouragement, pain, all of that, just because you want to assume and be responsible. Do you understand? Haven't you seen the devil? You haven't? You want to see him? Say to yourself, I'm going to assume responsibility from morning till night, and you'll see him. I bet you will. Let's go into the time of sowing. Listen, there are those of you who want to be rich. And I'm going to tell you something. I need 30 people who are wealthy in this church. And today I'm going to unleash those 30 rich people I need, and I'm going to unleash those today. You want to know how? From today on, don't wait on others to tell you what you know you have to assume. You want to be rich? Do that. Starting today, identify where you can make a contribution in your house, where you know you have to take responsibility. Many of your houses have trash right in the front yard, and you don't even pretend to see it or be bothered by it. Many of you don't. And some little detail, that small little detail, from now on, if you start to see it and make a change, you will start to see changes in your life. Because you and all those little trashes in front of you and that disorder that you have in your backyard or in your kitchen or in that back bedroom and your surroundings, that will not allow prosperity to flow and manifest in your house or in your life. Listen well. Many of you are limited, and it's not by chance, it's not a random thing. It's because you have to start taking responsibility from the little things that correspond to you. If you start taking responsibility from today on, especially in those small things, you will move the spiritual world in your favor. If you start to assume responsibility for those little things that you would rather not do because you know that's part of your wealth, you will see things happening in your life like you have never seen before. Trickster, wake up. What did I say? Yes, you that are listening to. Trickster, I'm talking to you. If each one of you focus on the needs of your surroundings, you wouldn't be stopping the flow of the spiritual world in your favor. There is wealth that you can produce in your house, but someone has to step up. Someone has to take responsibility. When you were at home without working or without work, you took responsibility and you did what you had to do. Today, you're not there. Someone else has to step up to another level. Someone. Do you understand? Everything has a know-how, a movement. But each one of us, by instinct, by logic, by common sense, knows that there are things that gotta be done and they have to be taken care of. Taking out the trash, washing the dishes, doing laundry. But Pastor, I do all those things. Yes, but there are even simpler things that we have to assume responsibility for and we ignore them. So, identify what's being ignored. Because there are things that no matter how productive you say that you are, and you know those are little things where you're like, you drag the line and you're like, I'm not doing that. And there are things that no matter how much you do, when you say I'm not doing that, you're putting a limitation on your life. Let me tell you something. Many of you are doing what you like or what you want, but are you doing what you don't like? I'm doing what I don't like, and that's where the wealth is. You want to be rich? Start assuming responsibility on those areas that you don't like. Why? Because that's where the violence is. That's where the confrontation is. They control the entities that want to rob and govern you. Do you understand? What you don't like, pay attention to that. Well, Pastor, but I don't like this and I don't like that, but I don't like this and I don't like that. Relax. Let everybody just not like what they have to do. When it comes to you, you do what you know you have to do and you embrace those things that you don't like. Why? Because with those details that seem technical, that seem like everyday life, that is what's called the real management of the spiritual world. And you are producing that movement. Because the word says that what you sow, you reap. That's why everyone wants to reap. But with a lot of manipulation and thuggery. And the manifestations of the harvest don't come because there's so much manipulation covering it. The demand that you have is more like a demand for robbery against you than more than what you have been sowing in your life to be able to reap. And so your sowing is there, but you get robbed right there because there's more to rob you from than what you sow. Do you understand? What is it that you don't like? What is it? That's it. Check it out in your house. You say, well, that's not even my house because I don't even like to go there. Exactly. You know how many of you don't like to go home? You know how many of you have thrown parties to avoid going home? Who? How many? I did it too. But do you know where wealth comes from? Almost always wealth is violent because you're going to have to walk an extra mile that others never wanted to assume. Hello? What's the excuse of everyone? Well, Pastor, no one did it for me. What's the excuse? That no one did it for me, so I don't know. Yes or no? Today you have knowledge. So what are you going to do today? That which was not done with you or to you, or that you know? What is it that you're going to do? They didn't do it because they didn't know, and you didn't do it. Why? Because you didn't know either. But today you know. Do you know yes or no? So what are you going to do? I'm going to do what I know. Thank you, Lord, for this time. Thank you, Lord, for removing the lie, the deceit, the manipulation from me. Thank you because your truth doesn't negotiate with anyone. Thank you for your truth. Thank you because every metamorphosis that occurs comes to take us to what we are, to what you have said before the foundation of the world, that we were chosen as a lineage, as a holy nation, as a royal priesthood, as a people acquired. We are special people, unique on this earth. Thank you, Lord, because even though what I saw in myself didn't please me, what you did is what manifests. And today I connect to all that through the body and blood of Christ in the name of Jesus. So let's take communion. Enter, dear ones, into metamorphosis with your sowing. Let your sowing change your surroundings. Let your sowing uproot the surroundings. Sow with the kingdom mentality. Sow with a prosperity mentality. Listen to this. Metamorphosis will give you everything so that you can assume this time.